I want this to be kind of an organic process because we want to respond to your needs. We're here to serve you. And so I like this to be fairly open and free-flowing. And I thought we could start by asking each panelist to talk about why they're here today. And then we can talk about the question at hand. We're supposed to start with things that involve empowering patients. And so much of what happens, as we saw in the film, that when you go to the doctor is doing things to you, which in a way fosters illness by the dependence and taking that power away from you. Whereas what we're here today to talk about in integrative medicine are things that we can do to teach you how to empower yourself. And empower is not the same as blame. If we're a victim of bad genes or bad fate or bad karma or whatever system we put that in, there's really not much we can do. But to the degree that we can do something about it, then we're empowered. And that can be something in conventional medicine, it can be in a variety of different alternative approaches. And to integrate the best and to try to sort out what works, what doesn't, for whom, and under what circumstances. There are certain themes that all of you have been talking about in different ways. It's almost like different parts of the elephant. Transformation, empowerment, healing. I'd like to start by just looking at some of these themes, and sustainability, I guess, is another one. Because when working and trying to integrate different disciplines, the joy of that is that you find things, you have different paradigms, and you can bring things together in ways that are creative and whole. But it also makes it a little difficult to create models that are sustainable. And we learned that in our work. We were able to show that we could reverse the progression of heart disease simply by a combination of nutrition and exercise and psychosocial support, exercise, and dealing with some of these deeper core issues that people face in their lives, to help people use the experience of suffering as a doorway for transforming their lives in ways that go beyond just the physical. And that's ultimately what we found makes it sustainable, because the real epidemics in our country are not just diseases of the heart and the physical heart, but as Mehmet talked about, the psychosocial, the spiritual, the emotional dimensions, the loneliness, the depression, the isolation that often are underlying the behaviors that in turn can lead to and predispose to chronic diseases and other illnesses. And so we found that we were able to use these very high-tech, expensive, state-of-the-art measures to prove the power of these very low-tech and low-cost and in many ways ancient interventions, first by focusing on heart disease. Then we were able to do a study in collaboration with Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center here in New York and UCSF that the progression of prostate cancer could be stopped or even reversed, and by extension breast cancer, diabetes, hypertension, obesity. So there's a crisis that's occurring on individual levels when someone first gets diagnosed as having a life-threatening illness. As the woman on the film said, when she heard the diagnosis of cancer, her life was never the same. But it's also happening on a social level, as several of the panelists talked about, that the system itself is having a heart attack, that it's not sustainable, that healthcare costs are reaching a tipping point. Many corporations are finding they're spending more on healthcare for their employees than their entire profit margin.